is up, everyone? Hope you're having a great day. I am the 80s Transformer fan, and you are watching George Reviews. Together, we'll be taking a look at McFarlane's DC Multiverse Kalibak. This is what I like to call a deluxe size figure. I don't know if that's what the official name is, but throughout the rest of the review, this will be a deluxe class figure. He is larger than the normal figures. He normally retailed at $39.99. He's currently going for 30 bucks everywhere. They cut the price. I guess people are not trying to get this guy. But anyway, he is in the standard window box packaging for DC Multiverse figures. It is a simple black package trimmed in white and a giant window box so you can fully see the figure within. You can see Kalibak, you can see his weapon, card, accessory, and stand behind him in a blue artwork from the comic books meshed in the background. The back of the box has some artwork for Kalibak from what I believe the box is labeled as Kalibak The Dark Side War. I'm not familiar with that comic myself. I'm a 70s, 80s, 90s type comic book reader. I kind of gave it up a long time ago. I believe this is from the new 52. It says McFarlane Toys in several places, DC Multiverse. And that is pretty much its standard size packaging. But it is excellent for mint box collectors. So let's get this guy out of the box because I will not be mint in box collecting this guy. Alright fam, this is what we call the unboxing portion of the video where I unbox it on camera, obviously. But since I already unboxed it, I'm kind of rehashing this. I actually deleted the footage by accident of me unboxing this guy, so I stuck it back in the box, but here it is. This is our Kalibak. He is no longer tied down, and judging by the way he stuck into that box, he didn't need to be tied down. And he is packed in with one accessory. This is the Beta Club. Lastly is this little black stand. And no matter how big the figure is, the stand is the exact same size. Right, this guy, he's a wide, big old dude wearing like this apocalyptic Roman armor. They got Rome on Apocalypse. It's sort of like Roman and Apocalypse at the same time. Ooh, they kind of skimped out on the paint app right there on this gold over painted. This green painted over the gold piece right there. Let's take a look at Kalibak's face. Man, that is a face only a warlord father can love, and I don't even think he does. The tusk coming up from the bottom. I mean, he looks like, what is their race? Like, funny thing is, I think their race is called New Gods. I think I remember it being that. And that's like it's not a title, it's their race or whatever. But taking a look at that mug right here. And the head and the hair, this is like a real soft plastic. Well, not real soft, but I expect it to be hard, but I can squish it around. Check that out. He has some wash to his hair and the beard and the top of the hair. Some darker strands, like a dry brushing over it. All around to the back. The sculpts on McFarlane Toys are always amazing. What's kind of lacking in their figures is the articulation and accessories. Well, we check out his ear. Even that's detailed. Look at that. That is very cool. And then what is he wearing? Like, is this under his hair somewhere, or is it just covering his face? Like, what's he wearing? Loser. He has the nose ring right there in his nose. Excellent sculpt. Like I say, with the hair coming around everywhere and the ears and everything, that looks good. Again, what is this? Like this Roman Darksidian apocalyptic outfit. The little gold piece coming around the shoulder. Is it glued to his chest at some point? I think it's glued like right here. They should have just let it roam free, but it's glued like right here, coming around to the back. Yeah, it's free moving everywhere, but right in the front, they're like, do not take this off. And look, it probably would, there's a little peg under there, but it would come off if not for being glued right here, which is weird. Why would they do that? I think it's pegged in too. It looks like I'm knocking the camera back, but it looks like a square post under there. If you pulled it off, it'd probably be like a square out of his chest where it goes in. And coming down to his belt, this little softer piece right here. This whole little skirt piece is soft. Ooh, it looked like I pulled it loose, and I did. Look at this. I'm trying to check it out. I pulled that loose right there from under there. So this is two separate pieces. We learned that right now by accident. All right, the little tassels down here look good. It's one piece, but they're sculpted to look like it's multi-layer. But in the back, it's actually, because we checked it out a little bit earlier, it's actually multi-layer right here. And again, they skipped on the paint right there. Little belt is the separate gold plastic. All right, and coming down to his trunks, underpants, or whatever under here, like this is a separate piece right here covering up this little black piece. Under here, it's a soft plastic, so you can get some articulation out of it. And then where the shorts meet the legs, this is part of the same molded scope as the thighs. It's just painted over green. And it looks like his knee joint is hidden very well. Let's check it out real quick. Yeah, that's hidden very well. I expected it to be right here, and it wasn't. And his boots are part of the sculpt, not a separate piece. Coming down to his feet. Has some sculpted in detailing on the boots and his feet, his two-toed feet right there. And where does he get two toes from? Like, does he get this from his mom? Because he don't get it from Dark Side. Like, what's going on here? Nice sculpted detailing on his arms and the gloves right there. Texture on the gloves. This little mustard yellow paint going on here. Little straps on his arm on this side. Shoulder armor right here. Yep. It looks good. Now let's check out Kalibak's articulation. Let's see what he can do. Big guy, and look, this head and this hunch. I mean, he's not looking up for jack. Let's see, I'll move the hair a little bit. His upwards is this, and that is it. His downward is a lot. Filthy Kryptonian. That's pretty good. Got some side to side out of it. And 360 exorcist. Oh, whoa. Is this guy going to be a builder figure or what? Because that thing just popped right out of there. I was just lifting. I'm not that heavy-handed. Getting his arms up to the side like this. Let's scoot this guy back. Up this far. And come back because he has a thing on that side. Come back to this arm. 360 right there. And he feels like he was a builder figure at one point. You know how Marvel do the builder figures and then they come back and release it in the line? That's what he feels like. Elbow, and like the sculpt is lost right here for the articulation. Elbow bend this much, and that is it. It's really restricted by the sculpt. Coming down to his wrist, see the hands right there. We get the hand in and out. A nice texture on those gloves and nice molded detail on those fingers. Right there, full 360. He got one put, and this is where like interchangeable hands would have been great because he's known for punching and bashing with his strength. He has superhuman strength. He's not even human, but that's the way it's described. Superhuman strength. Since he's highly trained in hand-to-hand combat, the extra hands would have came in very handy. No pun intended. But he should have had two of these in two fists. Because like you got to put the weapon just in one hand. But continue the articulation. He doesn't have an ab crunch to speak of, but his waist 360 and it floats freely. Eventually that's going to be loose because it's kind of floppy more than you would want it right now, and the top half is very heavy. But this is a lot more loose than I would like. Full 360 out of that. He can rear back. I guess this can help him look up. Not much, but that's that. And down and down. So how far he can look down with this articulation. It goes side to side as well. Coming to his legs, he got all this stuff down here, and I already pulled this shit loose. So I don't want to mess nothing else up. So we can get this, okay, let's start with the splits because he wants to do the splits more than anything. We can get the splits out of these joints. Man, those joints look durable. Look at that. I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like that. They look very durable. So he can get the splits this far, and to the front this far, and to the back. Whee! Coming back to that knee that we played with earlier. You get this much out of it. And coming to his foot, we got the rock side to side. And we got the toe articulation right there. Wait, we didn't go front to back. Front and back right there. And McFarlane scopes, like far as what these figures cost, and I don't mean just these large ones, I mean his entire DC Multiverse line. His scopes are unbeatable for this price. But the articulation and the build quality to me is a little bit suspect. Alright, Kalibak's one accessory is the Beta Club, created by Desaad. Let's get it in his hand. If I can get it in his hand. I mean, it's super soft plastic, but his hand has zero give. There's no, even if I wanted to try to heat this up, this hand is not going to give at all. This guy has one of the hardest hands that I've ever tried to put a weapon in on any toy ever in the history of all the toys I ever had. Like, this is almost ridiculous. Oh, now, okay, now I got the Beta Club in his hand. Like, he gonna hold this thing forever now. Like, I ain't taking this thing back out. Now, this thing, it shoots energy blast, torture beams, or whatever. I forget what they call, but like, he can torture you, like, pretty much to death with it or whatever. It's very powerful. And he can use it as a club, obviously, and a fighting tool, striking tool, because it has the spikes on it, like brass knuckles or whatever. Flip it around here, and he can just give you the business. And he's strong enough to actually damage Superman. This guy is very, very strong. So he looks good, and the articulation is kind of bugging me a little bit. Now let's get this guy ready for the size up and the rundown. Now, as always, it would be easier to pull out a tape measure and tell you exactly how tall this figure is, but it's more fun this way. Here's our Kalibak next to Super 7's Thundercats Ultimate Slide, Marvel Legends Build-A-Figure Hulk from Thor Ragnarok, and this was always an underscale Hulk, even in that line. Masters of the Universe Classics Filmation He-Man, Takara Transformers Omega Sentinel reissue. Now we get to the McFarlane figures. Here's Starro Build-A-Figure, McFarlane's very first Superman, fellow oversized or deluxe figure, whatever you want to call it, Man-Bat from McFarlane Toys. Okay, last but not least is McFarlane Snyder Cut Darkseid. Now, Darkseid is supposed to be like a foot taller than Kalibak, and I do know that this is the movie version and this is like the comic book version, but still, like, across the board, the figures should scale kind of the same, whether it's live action or comic books, and he's what? 8'9", and he's 7'9", 7'8", like a foot apart. But hopefully they'll make a more comic book inspired version, and we'll get maybe a proper scale and a new sculpt and like a bulkier, wider figure, because this guy is kind of slim. Right now, to give my final commentary on Kalibak. Okay, the things that separate a good action figure from a great action figure can be something as minor as a couple articulation points. And the first one is when you got a guy this big and massive and wide, you need to include a butterfly hinge so he can bring his hands across his chest as if he's gripping or squeezing another action figure, something like that. So he's lacking the butterfly hinge, and he's also lacking the ab crunch that can actually get him in a little bit more dynamic poses when he's down, standing up, rearing back. He really could have used that. And the biggest thing that I almost overlooked is a bicep swivel. He has no bicep swivel, and this is just one chunky piece. So either one of the things, I wanted them both, but one of the things, a butterfly joint or bicep swivel would have helped this guy's articulation and posability. Also, I wish they had gave us an extra set of hands, like 2 closed hands so he can bash and fight, and some open hands so he can grab some of the other figures. Look like he's picking up Superman or whatever, and he gets this barely open left hand that can barely hold a weapon. That's my first complaint. The hand, like, you really got to squeeze it in there, and it kind of doesn't hold it all the way. If you see that right there, you got to smush and smush, and man, and taking it out, you feel like you're gonna just break it. And one more, I don't know if it's a complaint or not. One more thing, the outfit he's wearing, it's a very stylized outfit for Kalibak. I don't want to say very stylized, but the outfit varies depending on the artist and where he's depicted at, whether it's different cartoon iterations or comic book artists or whatever. It changes. I guess he changes his outfit and it's not the same outfit. And I know some people are going to say, well, this is specific for the Darkseid War. But if you look at the card, the crest on the top of the head, the forehead on the toy is rounded. It's intertwining like circles on his head. And on the card here, it's almost like a diamond shape. I don't know what you want to call that, sort of like Superman crest or whatever shape. Then also on the card that depicts the artwork from the comics, I believe it's the comics, the bands on his arm are silver, according to the card. And the straps on his arm we got on the toy are like this off yellow. And also on the card, we see a silver band on the bicep of his right arm, and this toy doesn't have it. So I'm going to go and just continue my little critique on what should have been done with the outfit. Like, most of the time, this language that goes across the strap of his chest or design or whatever this is, apocalyptic writing, is usually outlined in red, and we don't get that on the front of the outfit outlined in red. And that would have been nice. It would have added a lot to this toy. And also, my biggest thing, I guess this is definitely a wish list. The hair should have been black. Kalibak is depicted with dark black hair most of the time. They try to hit it with these highlights, so I guess depending on how the light falls on it, but nah, this is brown hair, and normally it's like almost a jet black with like gray or blue highlights on it, depending on the comic book artist. And they could have gave us a separate head, so if they just really want us to have this version, they could have gave us a separate head with the forehead exposed without this little tiara or Wonder Woman thing going across his forehead and around his face. And like the second head was sort of like the receding hairline, because he actually resembles his father Darkseid without that little thing on his head. And that would have been awesome. But what I think they're going to do, I think this is done on purpose. We're going to get a second version where he's wearing the brown or the burgundy, and he's going to have that head, maybe an open mouth, to go with and resell this, because this is a massive figure, right? And it's brand new tooling for this guy, and the only way to really reuse this is to make another Kalibak. Stuff him in a 2-pack with a different outfit on, maybe with Darkseid, Darkseid, or Superman or something like that in the future. Remember, I called it. Alright, I know it sounds like I don't like this figure, but I do. I really like it. The belts and the straps on this guy and the shoulder pauldering looks really, really good. I just wish he had a little bit more deco. But continuing on the positivity, he's the first of the comic book version of the new guys that we got from this line. Hopefully more to come. A comic book version of Darkseid, Decide, Granny Goodness, the Furies, even maybe Orion, and more to come. So I'm happy to get this guy in the lineup. That's all I got. I want to thank you guys for joining me for another episode of George Reviews, the reviews where every toy has a story.